Today on Cheese Matters, I'd like to talk to you about one of Australia's most popular cheeses that are getting more and more popular, and that is feta cheese. Australians are really learning to love feta, and feta comes in so many different varieties. Traditionally, of course, it came from Greece, and it was made from either cow's milk, goat's or sheep's milk, and we can get all of them here, and we can also get locally produced fetas. If you go to your supermarket nowadays, there is a wealth of fetas to choose from, so let's have a look at some of them. This is a Greek-style feta. It actually has quite a white colour because of the type of milk that's used, and a very crumbly texture. You can see that lovely open texture. Feta gets its name from the Greek term for slice, because the cheese is made in big blocks and then sliced into feta, into different slices. It is actually preserved in a brine solution, and that's why it's used quite a lot throughout Greece, because it keeps so very well. Australian style fetas will have a slightly creamier colour because our milk is creamier and has more vitamin A in it, so that's why we have lovely golden types of dairy products, again stored in brine. And then you can find fetas that are marinated in oil. This is a timboon feta that has some beautiful spices in it, and it's marinated in oil with some bay leaves. Already cubed marinated feta, which are fantastic for little antipasto platters or for tossing onto a salad, so keep some of those in your fridge. And this is quite a unique product, and that's the Persian feta. Persian feta is really soft and succulent and creamy. It's in a nice rich olive oil with lovely herbs such as thyme and some peppercorns through it, and really you can serve that almost in place of dip in a nice little bowl with some crusty bread on the side. For convenience, you can also find feta that's already crumbled and comes in a nice little container for you. So look out for all the different varieties of feta in the supermarket. So let's make something fabulous with feta. These are scrambled feta eggs with a tomato and basil salsa. And yes, feta is fantastic at breakfast time. So the first thing I'm going to do is actually make our little tomato and basil salsa, which is just a little fresh sauce that we can put on top. So just one beautiful vine-ripened tomato. So I'm just going to roughly dice that up. You don't need to be too fussy about it. These are beautiful, juicy tomatoes. And a little bit of fresh basil. I'm not chopping that up too finely. I actually want it to be quite chunky. So pop that into the bowl. And we're going to add just a little bit of olive oil, just to glisten it up a little, and some salt and some pepper. Now I like to do this first because as it stands while you're cooking the rest of the dish, all the flavours start to meld, and the salt really brings out the juices of the tomato. I'm just going to make a little bit of toast. So this is the way I make scrambled eggs, and it really is quite easy, but there's just a few principles. First of all, we need our eggs. So about 8 eggs, and you have lots of fun learning how to crack your eggs with one hand. And now for the feta. You may never have thought about using some feta cheese in your scrambled eggs, but really it's got a beautiful creaminess. And this one I'm using today is goat's feta. You can see it's quite a silky, smooth type of feta. It's actually made in the Danish style rather than the Greek style, which is a lot firmer, but it does crumble quite nicely too. So I'm just going to give that a little bit of a crumble. You can just do it with your fingers or use a fork if you like. So in with the eggs and give them a little bit of a whisk. So this is a South Cape goat's feta I'm using today. And just a little bit of butter in the pan, and I always use butter for my scrambled eggs. Butter's melted and it's sizzling, and now what I do is actually turn the heat to low before I add the eggs. So the trick with scrambled eggs is, yes, to scramble them, but not in too high heat. So we need to gently coax them to set. Stir gently around the edges And you can see it's already starting to set. We're after that beautiful curdy type of look rather than anything that's too scrambled and mashed up. But be vigilant, don't walk away from it, because you will end up overcooking it and you'll get dried eggs, which are not great. This quantity of 8 eggs is enough to serve 4, and whether it's adults or kids, they'll love it for breakfast. It's just ready now. See how it's still a little bit moist? It's going to continue cooking when I serve it. So this is the time it comes off the heat and onto the toast. It's looking good. A little bit of our beautiful tomato salsa just on the top. I'm just going to finish that with a little bit of crumbled feta and some black pepper. So who needs to go out for breakfast when you've got a great dish like this? And if you want more cheese recipes just like this one, go to cheesematters.com.au, which is your complete guide to cheese.